Hello, my sweet friends. Your host Shurma here. A very warm welcome to another floral painting tutorial on my art channel. Let's paint some pretty roses today, and it would be grand if you can paint along with me. So let's get started. The materials which I would be using for today's project are all listed over here. So let's begin with chapter 1, creating the background for today's floral painting. For starters, I have 3 elements with me. The first one is a handmade book cover with a spine. The size of the book cover is 7 inches by 5 inches and it opens sideways. That is the spine of the book cover. Now this book cover can be used in many ways. The second element is a cardstock which is painted with gold acrylic color, and it is around 6.2 inches by 4.2 inches in size. The third element is the white watercolor piece of paper, and it fits just inside the gold cardstock, and it is 6 inches by 4 inches in size. And I would be creating the floral image on this particular piece of paper. In the next step, I would be using liquid watercolors, green, that is light and dark, as well as crimson, and I would be creating a background on the white watercolor piece. So I have kept it on an absorbent piece of tissue paper, and I've dropped the greens and I have sprayed water over it. I'm using my flat brush number 6 to spread the color. Next, I go ahead and add a bit of dark green watercolor on it. And all this is happening only in one corner of the paper. Next, I go ahead and add a bit of crimson liquid watercolor. I spray carefully so that it doesn't spread all over the paper. Once I'm happy, I go on to the next corner and do the same. Once done, I leave the paper to dry. That leads us to the next chapter, that is creating the pretty roses. Here comes the palette for the pretty roses. I have permanent rose acrylic color, deep magenta, light pink, orange and white acrylic on my palette, and I have a flat brush number 5 and I'm loading it with permanent rose, a bit of orange and white. So this is triple loading of the brush. I blend the colors well, and that will help me to achieve great results. Initially, I bring in my flat brush number 4 and I've dipped it in deep magenta, and I'm trying to create a very loose form of the rose. Next, I go ahead and bring in my flat brush number 5, and remember I've already loaded it with permanent rose, orange and a bit of white. Later on, I will also go ahead and add a bit of light pink to bring in some variety to the color of the petals. And you will see that in a bit. Here you can see the orange more prominently, don't you? The combination of permanent rose color and orange brings about a color which is very tangy to look at. The technique which I am using to create the roses is known as the decorative stroke technique. Here I utilize a flat brush and I load it with more than one color to create the petals of the rose flower, and that helps to bring about highlighting and shading in one single stroke of the brush. So here are the pretty roses in the making. Dear friends, do you know that flowers always make people better, happier, and more helpful? They are sunshine, food, and medicine to the soul, and I simply love them, whichever flower it is. The flowers have symbolized the Almighty at work in whatever situation they appear. Take the example of the rose. The intricate and elegant rose offers a glimpse of the Creator's active presence in creation. Different colors of roses symbolize different spiritual concepts. In fact, white roses are for purity and holiness. Red roses are for passion and sacrifice, and so on. The red rose is very special. Roses are signs of love, as we all know, and it is a message from the universe that these pretty flowers love us and care about us and our well-being too. This reminds me of a song written by the famous songwriter Mac Davis. I quote, "Did you ever take a walk through the forest? Stop and dream while among the trees? Well, you can look up through the leaves right straight to heaven. You can almost hear the voice of God in each and every breeze. You've got to stop and smell the roses. You've got to count your many blessings every day. You're gonna find a way to heaven is a rough and rocky road if you don't stop and smell the roses along the way." Isn't that beautiful? So you see, my dear friends, taking time to recognize the daily moments that bring us joy and really seeing what causes that emotion is very important. An act of appreciation and recognizing the source of goodness in our lives brings peace to our soul. And I'm sure you all will agree to that. Do you? Well, do leave a comment below. I will get to know your thoughts about these beautiful flowers which adorn our lives in so many ways. Well, at this point I have brought in some crimson color and I'm going over some of the petals with crimson and white combo. That gives a kind of brightness to the flowers. It's looking really pretty, although not sure how much you can see. It's making the flowers bright and crisp. By adding the crimson color, brings a lot of variation to the color of the petals as well. So I'm carefully going over some of the petals, not all. Once I am satisfied with the roses, I move on to the next chapter, that is painting the leaves and the buds. Here comes the palette for the leaves. I have bamboo green, sap green, deep green, yellow, and white acrylic on my palette, along with flat brush number 5, and I'm loading it with sap green, bamboo green and white. So that is 3 colors on my flat brush. Now I can also use the dark green and yellow and create different combinations. In the next step, I bring in my liner brush and I have dipped it in sap green and a bit of white, and I'm just creating some random stems around the rose flowers, and that will help me to decide where to create the leaves. Some more stems. Next I go ahead and paint around the edges of the petals of the rose, and here I've loaded my liner brush with sap green and a bit of deep green too at times. This helps to create some dark spots in between the floral images and brings a lot of depth to the painting. Next I bring in my flat brush number 5 and I've loaded it with white acrylic, sap green and bamboo green, and I'm creating the pretty decorative leaves. Once I am done with the large leaves, I will go ahead and create some tiny leaves and buds thereafter, and I'm going to share that particular technique on a different piece of white watercolor paper. And here it is. Some stems, and thereafter I'm using my flat brush number 5 to create the little rose buds. I have permanent rose and white on my flat brush. Another rose bud here, and hope you can see the technique quite well. This is a large leaf followed by tiny green leaves. If we would like to have lighter leaves, then we should add a bit of yellow or more of white. Friends, if you would like to know more about this beautiful decorative stroke technique, then please go ahead and click on the I button which appears on the right hand corner of this particular screen, and it will lead you to more such floral videos. Next I go ahead and bring in my liner brush again, and I have a bit of yellow and green on it, and I'm creating the little petals around the buds of the rose. So I created those tiny leaves and buds on the actual painting, and this is how it looks. Next, I go back to my line brush again, and I have sap green and a bit of white on it, and I'm creating some vines around the leaves. Here there's more of white along with the green. Reinforcing the stems. And yes, dear friends, the painted panel is ready. Next comes assembling the project. So remember, I have my black book cover, the gold cardstock, the painted panel, and a celebrate sentiment. So I go ahead and frame the painted panel with the gold cardstock and then mount it on the top of the book cover and round it off with the sentiment. And yes, that's a wrap on today's project. So friends, did you have fun watching me create the pretty roses in acrylic? Do leave your comments below, and also you can put down your thoughts, your queries or suggestions as well. They're all welcome. would be great if you choose to follow me on my social media handles, and I would be very happy to be in touch with you. Immense thanks for all the support and love you show to my channel. You all are very important to me, and each and every act of your support means a lot to me. Thank you very much. And yes, as always, thanks for watching till the end. Here are some of my past floral painting tutorials. You might like them too. I will be back very soon. So do stay tuned and take good care of yourself. Bye bye.